Alright everybody, welcome back to yet another episode review video for last night's episode of The Walking Dead. This was Season 8, Episode 10, entitled The Lost and the Plunderers. Now, a lot of things happen in this episode. A lot of things with different groups. That being the Saviors, with Negan at the compound. Rick and Michonne were at Alexandria at the beginning of the episode. And of course, we actually did get to see some of the Junkyard crew as well. And shit went down, to say the least. So the episode actually started off with Rick and Michonne at Alexandria, just like we see in the clip, first 4 minutes of The Walking Dead. They were basically finishing the burial of Carl, and they had to get out of Alexandria because it was getting overridden with walkers. So anyway, that's how the episode there started off. Like, Rick went back to his house, gathered some supplies, and basically went on their way. They got out of Alexandria, and they head on over to the Junkyard crew, the Junkyard compound, if you will. So they head on over there, and they get inside, basically, and there's a little trap that comes down, like falling down on them, like some trash falls down behind them, blocking the exit. And that's when a whole bunch of walkers come out, and that's kind of where it ends for now, okay? Now, we get to really know what happened a little later on the episode. Basically, so this part of the episode takes place prior to when Rick and Michonne got there, if that makes sense. So it's Rick and Michonne, and then it's kind of showing us what happened with the walkers and how they got there, right? How the Junkyard crew are no longer there. So essentially at the Savior's compound with Negan tells Simon to take his crew back to the Junkyard. Don't kill them, kill one, the rest will fall in line. Do the whole threaten them and stuff like that, and ask for the apology about them double-crossing them, and he doesn't want to kill them all. He wants to give them another opportunity, because although they did pull the double-cross, they're still their resource, you know what I mean? That's what they have to do. And Simon is reluctant, but he does end up going, and he kind of takes matters into his own hands, which is exactly what the synopsis of this episode said. We went over the synopsis on Thursday, and it says, groups unite their forces and converge on the hilltop. Meanwhile, Aaron and Enid search for allies. We'll get into that too. Simon takes matters into his own hands. Well, we get to find out exactly what was meant by that. Simon essentially goes to the Junkyard crew compound, asks for an apology, demands an apology, gets all of their guns. He gets an apology, not necessarily an apology, but Jadis did own up and say that there is remorse. Simon then proceeded to say, I don't believe you. He shot one person. Is there remorse? He didn't believe her again. He shot another person, and she ended up striking him, punching him in the face, knocking him to the floor, and saying that there is a remorse. And after he got up, he opened fire on the rest of her crew. Everybody there in that junkyard is now dead. And they're not dead in the way of headshots, They all came back and turned into walkers, which is exactly what Rick and Michonne ran into later on in the episode. Or earlier on, technically. But in the story, you know what I mean. Okay, so anyway, Simon takes matters into his own hands. He disobeyed Negan, essentially, but he's not telling Negan about it. So that's kind of where the episode cuts off there. Simon returns back to the sanctuary compound with Negan, tells Negan that everything went A-okay. They listened. There was remorse. We're good to go. We have no problem with them anymore. They're going to be on our side. Obviously a lie. Rick now, back to the present time, if you will, is in that trap with Michonne, with walkers converging on them. And they end up scaling some of the garbage. They find Jadis actually up on top of the garbage as well. So they did leave her alive, so we still have Jadis. And we get to see, or hear rather, some of Jadis' storyline, like how she got to the junkyard, why she thought it was a good idea for them to stay there. And she essentially said, prior to all of this, I came here to the junkyard all the time, and I found stuff to paint on. I found canvases to paint on, and she's an artist, basically, at heart. And after everything went down, she came here and she realized that, this whole place is a canvas. That's the way she put it. And we were the paint. meaning her and her whole group. Her whole group is now unfortunately dead. And Rick and Michonne are coming up with a plan to get out of there. They kind of make like a riot shield thing with a car door. And they're essentially making a run for the exit, or the entrance, that is now basically piled up with garbage. But they do end up clearing it and getting out the entrance. They climb over it, and they got out. Jadis wanted their help to get out. And Rick has just kind of had enough with her, leaving her behind. I've had enough of your games. You do this all the time. The only reason your people are dead, he actually said at one point, this is all you. This is your fault. You've done this. Because he offered her time and time again to join him. And if she joined him and stuck with him and didn't keep turning on him, there's a good chance this wouldn't have happened, And anyway, he left her there. She ended up actually leading or luring all of her people, which are now walkers. She has to get them out of the way so she can get out of there. Luring them up, basically, the garbage pile into the garbage disposal thing. The thing that grinds up all the garbages. She led them up there, took the chain off, let them all fall into it, turned it on, and there was some pretty gory walker deaths, if you will. It turned them all into mush and just, red guts, everything. It was kind of like a smoothie, if you will. And it was all on the conveyor belt, and then went down into a pile on the ground. It was really nasty, but also cool at the same time. So that was neat. She kind of chills there for a little bit. She eats applesauce, appropriate meal after basically making, her friends into applesauce. And she ended up basically just staying there for a little while, contemplating, not really saying too much, and ultimately ended up leaving. Now, we don't know where she went, but hopefully we'll see more from her. Hopefully we will. Kind of ended on her with a shot of, her face. Just, she didn't really do anything, She just lost all of her people. So where does that leave her? That's a good question that we should want answered, and hopefully we do. Maybe not in the season, but she has been promoted to a series regular, so that's kind of cool. That's kind of exciting. A lot of people are thinking maybe she's going to be Alpha from the Whisperers. I personally wouldn't like that. I like Alpha and Beta to be more of like people that Rick completely, does not know. It's much more creepier, I think, that way. So hopefully they don't go that way, but we'll definitely see what comes of her. Maybe she joins the group. I don't know. We'll see though. Aaron and Enid. They search for allies. Obviously, last we seen them, they killed the grandmother of the Oceanside crew. Not on purpose, but in self-defense. And the Oceanside crew ended up taking them prisoner, bringing them back to Oceanside. They're about to be executed. And the granddaughter, again, I don't remember her name. It starts with a C, I think. I know it does, but I can't remember. She's not on enough for me to remember her name, so I apologize. She ends up letting them go, basically saying to never come back here. And they ask them to join the fight in fighting the Saviors. Why do you just sit here and hide? Why don't you contribute? And she points out, well, basically me not killing you is a contribution in and of itself, keeping you alive to fight the Saviors, right? Which obviously it's not. It's just another excuse not to fight them and just to keep on hiding like they always do. So I don't know why they won't join the fight, but they don't want to lose more people. But it's like they think that everybody, on their side wants to lose people as well. You know what I mean? Obviously, no one wants to lose people, but it has to be done, right? So, anyway, basically, after that, they did exit the compound. Aaron actually told Enid to take the car and go home. Go back to the hilltop and tell Maggie what I'm doing, and he's basically going to try to stay there and convince them to join the fight. So whether or not he will, I don't know. We'll definitely see, though, hopefully, in the coming episodes. What's next was the end of the episode. And the end of the episode basically took Rick and Negan on a walkie-talkie conversation. One that was intense, but also very sad at the same time. So after Simon got back from killing all of the junkyard crew. He basically told Negan that everything went good, everything went fine, and then Negan got approached by another savior saying that it was Rick on the other end of the walkie-talkie. This is where Negan took it, started talking to Rick, and Rick basically said that Carl died. He informed him that he died. Carl actually also wrote Negan a letter, which another reason why Rick actually ended up calling him on the walkie-talkie was to let Negan know that Carl basically wanted them to both stop fighting. They wanted them to both stop fighting and just live in peace together. You know, that's what Carl wanted. And as hard as Negan is, you know, as bad as he is, you could see in his eyes, you could see in his face that he really felt for Carl. You know, he really liked Carl. He like he said, he thought that Carl, you know, he knew that Carl was the future. That kid was the future, is what he said. And this affected Negan in a way that I'm not even sure was seen and felt to the highest extent, you know. I think he tried to kind of hide most of it, but you could see that it was affecting him. Like he held his head down, he said shit, you know, stuff like that. You know, not the most widespread vocabulary, if you will. He's not the most greatest person that expresses feelings, you know, in that type of sense. But he did feel for him. You know, he did feel that loss. I will say that right now, because you could tell he did. And Rick basically exclaims to him that even though Carl wanted this, it's too late. It's too late to go back. I'm going to kill you, he says. Negan points out that, you know, if you didn't do this, if you didn't fight back, if you didn't do this all along, you would have been there for Carl. You would have been there to protect him. You failed as a leader. You failed as a father. And then he said, just stop fighting. Just stop fighting. Who's next? And that's when Rick says, you are. And that's pretty well where the episode ends. But, well, it's not pretty well. I mean, that is where it ends. There's a couple other quotes, I think, exchanged back and forth. But nothing, nothing too great. Rick was just basically getting his ass chewed on by Negan. You know, Rick is heartbroken. It kind of sounds like Negan is a little bit as well. He really liked Carl. That's all I can say. He really did. He respected him. You know, he thought he was built for this shit. He said that earlier on in the episode. And, I mean, that's pretty much it, guys. That was an episode review. That's everything that happened. I thought it was a great episode. I really did. I'm looking forward to next week's episode when Enid gets back to the hilltop and probably finds out about Carl, as well as Maggie and all of them guys, you know. Excuse me. Holy shit. And all of them guys find out about Carl. Nobody really knows at the hilltop that Carl is dead. But we do know Daryl and, you know, the whole group there, along with Judith, is going to the hilltop right now. Everybody that left Rick and Michonne down in the sewers with Carl is heading to the hilltop. That's their mission. Like Tara, you know, we have Dwight obviously there as well. Rosita, there's a couple of sneak peeks out right now, so make sure you guys go check them out. But I will be reviewing those sneak peeks and making predictions for next week's episode of The Walking Dead this Thursday. I'm gonna make it sure it's gonna be this Thursday. I keep failing, but because of the Fortnite updates, but I'm gonna do it. And anyway, this next episode of The Walking Dead is season 8, episode 11, entitled "Dead or Alive Or." It's a weird title. There's 2 ors, one at the end. Doesn't really make sense, but hopefully the episode will actually end up, you know, kind of telling us what's going on with that title, because it usually does, but who knows. Thank you all so much for watching my episode review. I really enjoyed it. I really did. Hopefully you guys did as well. If you guys didn't see it yet, then I don't know why you watched this video, but thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Remember, guys, I stream every single day at 3 p.m. Eastern, unless I'm uploading a Walking Dead video. It's usually at 4 p.m. Eastern, 4 to 4:30, and again, I'm going to be streaming here today as well, so if you're watching this video as soon as it goes up, make sure you check out the stream. And other than that, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, guys. Bye.